time to guide us in our hair cutting. I also want to thank Ilana, whose crazy idea I think this was, and for Jemmy for wisely embracing it and building upon it so we have this really fun public event. So just a quick minute on Lag BaOmer. First of all, Mark Blattner's joining us too. First of all, Lag BaOmer, the word log is two Hebrew letters, Lamed and Gimel, and it means 33. So I don't know if you know this, but Hebrew letters have a numerical value. So Lag BaOmer is really just a way of saying 33 days of the Omer. We started counting the Omer, which just means each night you say which night of the Omer it is. We started counting the Omer on the second night of Passover, and you count all the way up to 50, and then you are at Shavuot. So the Omer is the period of counting between Passover and Shavuot. It's 7 weeks of counting, and the Torah tells us to do this. What is the Omer? An Omer was an ancient measure of grain, and the Israelites were required to bring an Omer of wheat or of barley to the temple. Why do we cut hair on Lag BaOmer? To be honest, the deepest truth is nobody's 100% sure of how this started. But to make a very long story short, there is a tradition that Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the greatest sages of all time, and the Jewish tradition tells us the author of the Zohar, died on Lag BaOmer. But its real significance, and I'll close with this so we can jump in, the real significance of Lag BaOmer is that there's a tradition that the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva is one of our greatest rabbis, one of the most original and courageous and daring minds of the Jewish tradition, that his 24,000 students were struck by a plague and they were died. And the reason for that is because they spoke with sinat chinam. They spoke they treated each other with sinat chinam, which means like limitless hatred for no reason, jealousy and animosity of all kinds. And as a result, they were struck with some kind of spiritual plague. And the plague came to a halt on the 33rd day of the Omer. Now, as you know, there's a tradition of cutting our hair, of not cutting hair and not shaving our beard during a period of mourning. So while the plague was in effect, we observed the mourning for the lost students of Rabbi Akiva by not cutting our hair. Then on Lag BaOmer, when the plague ceased, according to our tradition, then we can cut hair. And I'll just close on a personal note. For me, this is actually not only a fun day, but also a kind of profound day, because my father of blessed memory, Rabbi Emanuel Rose, he died in early February. And in keeping with the tradition, I have not cut my hair or shaved my beard since before that. But once he died, I had the mitzvah of not cutting my hair. And there's a tradition of growing it. Some people say you can cut it around the 3rd or 4th month, to make a long story short. And so for me, it's not only Lag BaOmer and the tradition of cutting hair on this day, but also for me, bringing an end to this outward observance of the mourning for my father. So I'll just close with that. A lot more to be said about this mystical holiday, which is supposed to be a very fruitful day for learning the Kabbalah. And say it's so fun to be here with all of you, and we're delighted to have Mark Blattner with us. And if you don't know what Mark Blattner looks like, this is a little shaggy for Mark Blattner. It's not shaggy by objective standards, but for Mark Blattner, it's hugely shaggy. So welcome. And Ann Sanderson, I'll let you take it away. And thanks to everybody for joining us.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am super excited to be leading you all through these haircuts. I think it's a great time to talk about hair not being just about the hair through that lesson, but also now that my salon is closed, that we really realized that the hair brought us together, but we used that time to connect with people. And it's been a hardship for a lot of us not to have those connections over in the chair and being able to talk about our feelings, because this was a safe place for that. So I'm happy to be like having that connection again in sort of a spiritual way as well. And I'm happy that everyone's going to feel a little bit better with their haircuts at the end as well. We're doing 3 haircuts today. So Jemmy is getting her haircut by her son, Alex, and Rabbi is having his wife do it, Hannah, and Amanda is cutting Micah's hair. And Amanda is doing exactly what we do in the salon, which is the kids' patience run out and we get what we get done. So she started early and we're going to let her go on with that. She and I had a little chat about how to do the haircut yesterday, so she's got some information as well. So I think we're going to start things in staggered so that we can see what we're doing, and we'll start with Jemmy. Jemmy, if you say something, you show up on my screen again, which is awesome.
Hello.
Hello. So Alex is going to do a short buzz cut on her, but with scissor over fingers on the top, right? So I've got a little diagram that I'm going to make to show you what she's going to do, or Alex is going to do on his mom. Yeah. And so but here's the back of Jemmy's head. Oops, I got to use black on the next one. So there's the back of Jemmy's head. And he is going to use the clippers from keeping down here. He's going to go just a little above the ears, just barely. And he's going to go, and it's going to come down low below that bone that you have there. So, Alex, are you ready? But he's going to stop because he's not buzzing the whole thing. And we'll get to stage 2. He's going to buzz the hair dry because it goes through the clippers better. It hits all the little hairs. And when you're going up, you kind of move away from the head when you get to the top of your line. So clipper out like that. I don't have my clippers out.
Alex, for this to be totally in keeping with the tradition, you actually have to put on a blindfold. We forgot to tell you that.
Well, here, I'll just cover
there you go, that'll work.
All right.
Rabbi, you don't think that the level of difficulty is enough already?
Ready?
Is there a bracha for this?
Okay, remember to start.
You just say the Shechianu and it's all good.
Alex,
Yep.
Start at the bottom and hold it so that it's flush like this. You're not poking her with the guard. You're going up. No, not like that. I'm gonna find a set of clippers so I can follow along.
Well, we gotta start somewhere.
A little bit apropos of nothing, but Daniel Petcher, our president of our congregation, just made a comment that reminded me a big mazel tov to Amanda Leader, who we now have to call Dr. Amanda Leader, who just completed her PhD. What an enormous achievement. We're proud of you. We love you. And thank you, doctor.
So, are you ready, Rabbi, to get started? How's it going, Alex?
I mean,
yep,
doesn't look
absolutely.
bad.
Okay, that's
Kind
perfect.
of looks like the head goes into a coconut right now.
Perfect. Now remember, when you get around the ears, you're not going quite up as high. Like you're gonna make sure that you're just right around the ears. Okay, Rabbi, are you ready to start?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Should I get closer to the camera or we're good?
You're good.
Yeah, okay, good.
I need to have you be the speaker, though.
Okay.
Meaning on her.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Perfect. Okay, so now kind of what you're going to do is we're going to have this haircut, again, from the back and ears. This haircut is going to come out just with comb and scissors like this.
Mm-hmm.
We're cutting off here. Can we all see that? Here, here, and then we're going to join those two sides. And then when we get to the back, we'll just go closer. So you're going to estimate how far away from the head you want to be and remain that as you go around the back. So you start on the sides.
And how far up should I go?
You want to stay below this bone. So you're going to go from here.
Okay.
This bone,
Right.
meaning my skull.
Right there, perfect. And then as you get, just like on Jemmy, as you get towards the back, you're going to lower it down slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're that bone, you want to land it right around there. So that's part. I gotta find my mannequin. I haven't used it in 15 years.
No, the whiteboard is way better.
I wish I had
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said, oh, I know what I'm doing. I can get rid of that thing.
Hold
As I
on, we
recall, I
should
put
get
it in
keep
the
a
garbage.
clip so she can put my hair in a ludicrous looking little thing at the
A
top.
clip? Oh, yay, a clip.
I do want to share with everybody what I shared privately with the group before, which is that when my son Eliav saw that we were advertising this event as "Come watch Rabbi Rose get a haircut," Eliav said wryly, "Wow, these people must really be starved for entertainment." So no offense to anyone who tuned in, but I really thought that was so funny, and he likes to put his father in his place.
Okay, so one of the things that we talked about yesterday as we were setting up is that we always hold our hands sort of as a plane around the head so that we don't go sideways like this with our fingers. We go vertically with our fingers. Excellent. Look at that. There she is. There's her thing.
He's good.
Good. Don't go
Jemmy,
back.
you're looking good too. Look at Jemmy.
Beautiful.
Alex is
Beautiful.
awesome.
That was the perfect first cut. And then the next thing you do is you grab the next one, but you grab a little bit of the one before so that you have a guideline. Okay, you're good. Okay, Jemmy looks, oh wait, let's see where Mike is going here. Micah, how are you? That's probably the most comfortable, and a donut. That's awesome.
Is that a rye bagel or a donut? I want one.
We're doing great.
Awesome.
Hi, baby.
Can we get donuts also?
Yeah.
Don't worry, don't worry. You're doing great. Look at your haircut.
No, I'm all done.
We're
Micah,
almost
you
done
look
here.
No,
Because that's
that's a magic ring.
Okay, all right.
And then
Okay.
no more snips today.
All right, just
no more snips today. That sounds like a good
Hey,
plan.
Akiva Leader.
Tell me
Hi.
Thank you.
Mark Blattner, why would nobody cut your hair?
one time.
Awesome. Okay, Jemmy, are you ready? You and Alex ready for the next?
There we go.
Okay.
Nobody was willing to do it.
Nobody was willing
there
to
we go.
take the risk.
I was ready to take whatever risk. I mean, I think Alex is doing a great job. I could have just buzzed my hair. I wouldn't have cared.
Maybe they think you look so perfect that they just didn't want to mess with it. It's like, remember when Fonzie would go to comb his hair and he'd look in the mirror and he'd be like, hey.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case here, especially in the back,
I also saw that
we're ready for
Natan
next-
Namir is on. Natan was looking very shaggy, I saw in a meeting the other night. So I hope Natan is getting a haircut.
Uh-huh.
So Jemmy, say
Yeah.
something so that you end up in the front speaker. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, excellent. So you're ready for the next one. Now you're going
Like
to
it.
now you're going to wet down the hair because when we're going to cut with scissors, we want to have more control. Wet hair allows us to have more control. This works for everything but bangs. You do not want to do a bang trim at your house with wet hair because only bad things can happen. So we always say, use the comb to kind of move the water around. Otherwise, you're just going to be spraying your forever. There you go. Alex, I love your flair. This is amazing. So when you're cutting bangs just for a bang trim and not the whole head, then you want to make sure you cut them dry because cut them dry, bangs lie. They tend to always look longer until you let go of them, and then they go up to there. So excellent. So a little bit more water there for you, Alex. And then what we're going to do once you've got that evenly moist is that you're going to get small, thin partings. And what we're going to see in the back where we can't see you, but we will see on the side. I'll do a little diagram. You find the diagrams helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you have now is this is all very short, right? And this is all very long. And what you're going to do is join that in a line like this.
Okay.
So you want your starting guideline to be here, and then you want this to kind of just come up, and then we're going to move to the top. So remember, we still have this, so we're doing this on the back as well.
And Lori Ann Bird, who we miss terribly and is out of town, asked the question whether people can use ordinary scissors in a pinch, or do they have to use special haircutting scissors?
So there's a famous story that I like to tell that I heard very long time ago where when we go to hair shows, they're like big conventions and they have hair artists on a platform and a big stage in front of us. And this guy who's been cutting hair for years comes out and he does a haircut on a model with shears and a comb, dry haircut. And then he goes away and the next person comes in and he does it with a razor, because there's always this debate, do you use shears or razors? And the haircut's exactly the same. The third model comes out with an almost empty bottle of beer. He sucks down the beer, cracks it on the stage, and then cuts the hair with the glass from the bottle.
Nice.
Same exact haircut. So it is more about what you're doing than what you're using. And if you're comfortable with a razor cut and you can get that down perfectly, that's awesome. The haircut, I've done a haircut depending on I change what I'm doing, but I've cut haircut with kids' paper scissors with blunt ends. So it just depends if you're camping and you do an emergency haircut because there's a slug in someone's hair, you can use what you have.
As we speak, Lorianne is smashing her Tecate 12 ounce and using it to cut her hair right now.
Okay, I'm not suggesting that.
That's what I heard.
So Jemmy, how's it going over there? Let's check in with you.
Well, Alex declared those little shears we had, which are really Greg's mustache and beard shears.
Terrible.
So we upgraded to the kitchen shears.
Right, and in this case, then you would, I wouldn't do your haircut with some dull scissors. I was thinking more of a long haircut that it would be hidden much easier. But yes, definitely better shears are better. It's very hard right now. So many people are doing home haircuts. It's hard to get right now, even if you're ordering online.
Go get the pizza now.
No, but when you were there, you
We're taking a time out because our child needs assistance.
I think Mike has been doing just a great job.
Micah, oh my gosh, he looks so handsome. What a big boy.
His bang area looks great, Amanda.
Dang, she is good.
Nice job.
What a big boy.
Yep. Looks good.
Micah, you look like you are about 7, man. What a big kid.
When you're cutting hair at home too, especially with the short haircuts, good product can hide a lot of flaws. So if you have enough goop of some kind, whether it's a paste or a pomade, depending on your hair, you can just move the hair around that spot that you accidentally cut a little bit too much.
Ann,
Yes?
so it's hard to get the bottom part, turn that way. It's hard to get down here. I can't see. Oh, there you are.
I can't see either.
It's hard to get the bottom part of the back right now because and still hold my hand out on a plane. Are we going to do that part at the end?
And now
You're going to go shorter. So what's going to happen is, and you probably want to bring your fingers up from the bottom sometimes works better. So here's the back of his head. And this is coming out. And what happens, it goes like this.
Right.
So you're going to get closer to the head as you get towards the nape of the neck.
Okay.
So if you were using clippers, my fingers are a good number 6 clipper guard. So if I'm doing a number 6, I can do it with my hand. If I want to get closer in, I use clippers on the bottom, but you don't really need to do that today, but you just go tighter.
So I should be trying to get the bottom now though.
You can, yeah, there's no issue. Going around, getting all that bottom and then blending in the top with it is a fun technique. I'm one of the most chaotic hair cutters. I cut what I feels like I want to do. I don't follow a certain pattern. Sometimes hair just speaks to you and you say, wow, if I get this part taken care of first, everything else will blend in perfectly. And other times you just do, I start on this side and it makes sense. It's hard not to be ambidextrous, so I usually start on my right side.
Right. I feel like I'm going to walk away from this with a mullet.
You are not going to walk away from this.
No.
Well,
Never let that happen.
hey, I like a
Unless
mullet.
it's a stylish mullet.
Right. So can I share a brief teaching, Ann?
Yes, please.
So I don't know. I know you may have to jump in there periodically, so I'll try to just do this in fragments. So in the counting of the Omer, we connect with Phil Cohen just said bald is beautiful. In the counting of the Omer, we connect each day with a different kind of spiritual attribute, and from the Kabbalah. And the emphasis on Lag BaOmer is called Hod Shebahod, which means, like, sometimes translated as glory or splendor within splendor. But Hod is associated with the quality of being receptive, receptivity. So receptivity means that, like, if you're talking to another person, you're having a conversation and they're talking, you have like no ego in it. You're just listening and being totally present to them and not imposing yourself on the situation at all, but just being there as a receiver to let other people bring their beauty into the world and their words, their ideas, their emotions. And we don't interfere, we don't direct the conversation back to ourselves. When you're just in that mode of just being fully present, so the other person feels totally seen and heard, that's the quality of Hod. And for now, I'm just going to pause there. So, and I want to say a little bit more later, but for right now, just on the human level, it's a beautiful quality to integrate into ourselves, as you know, along with other parts. There are times that we have to jump into a situation, times we have to direct attention to ourselves, times we have to take control. But Hod is that quality of just being there to receive and take in what's around us without judgment or without response or reaction. Beautiful attribute to cultivate. Back to you, Ann.
Okay, I want to look at Jemmy for a second. Get her on the screen. Alex is going crazy.
Hey, pretty
Good job. Have you
good.
started the top? Can I describe the top a little bit? Because I think you already are rocking it out. That looks really good. So what we're going to do on the top there, and this is a side view, is we're going to pull up the hair here in a little mohawk, right? This little center strip right down there, and bring it up. I like to leave length in the front, so I often change this angle, but you can get away with this because you wear your hair short anyway, but just a little bit more length in the bang area. And then once you have that center strip done, then from the back view, you'll have this. Oops, that's too high. Even I can't do that. Okay, so then on the back view, you'll have this, and then you'll have longer hairs as you pull them up. And so what you're going to do is cut those, but you're going to make very thin partings because as you travel, if you travel from the back to the front, it's going to be longer. So you want to make sure that you're leaving a little bit more length as you go forward on that same line. So you do little thin partings. And eventually, Rabbi, that's what we're going to do for you as well.
All right.
And I actually have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Where can people buy hair cutting shears if they like want to cut their hair in this quarantine time?
Yeah, you know, like it would be good to have good shears. I don't know anymore where to get them. I've tried to, my daughter's in Boston, and I tried to order her some clippers, and sometimes the clippers will come with shears and thinning shears, which can be super helpful. But getting clippers right now is really hard.
That's odd.
Why?
Because everyone is doing what we're doing right now.
Right. Good point.
You know, and it's hard. I ended up having a couple of pairs and I sent it out to her, but I don't know. I don't know any source that, just like I'm looking for sanitizer and Clorox wipes to reopen my salon. It's possible that we'll have a reopen date in about 3 to 4 weeks, but I can't reopen if I can't get masks and sanitizer and all of the other huge list of things that we need to make the salon safe. So if anyone has a Clorox wipe, you know, source, let me know.
Dr. Peter, Michael looks great.
Excuse, where are we? Oh yeah, Michael looks great.
So yeah, we did like probably, I would say 3/4 of this haircut. But he does look very handsome, and Ann helped make this happen. Thank you, Ann.
My pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
I also miss talking to my hairdresser that I see not often enough anyways, but I feel like I have so much to tell her every time I see her, you know? Anyways, we thank you. We're kind of out of gas over here, but this is his haircut.
Micah, you did
Michael, you
great.
look like such a big boy.
Yeah.
Great job, Dr. Leader.
Is there anything she can't do?
Yes, you can.
Nothing she can't do.
All right, so we're gonna sign off so we don't steal any thunder here, but we'll just mute ourselves, or we can go on Facebook. But we thank you and we wish you all a happy Lag BaOmer and a not rainy day. Hopefully, so you
Lag
can
BaOmer.
enjoy outside.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks for participating. It was great.
Bye, Adam. Bye, Akiva.
How's it going there, Hannah?
Pretty good. I could probably skip to the top. I haven't done this yet.
Okay.
You to jump around. So if you want to.
Okay, that sounds good. So you were cutting when you're doing a great job. I have to say, your technique is, and I love the clips.
Trying to figure out how to switch the scissors and the comb. That's
Yeah, it is a funny thing. We do a lot of different things. So let me find a pair of shears here. So our shears are like this. Everybody has a pair that they love. Like mine are ancient, but they're very lightweight and they have very thin blades because mostly I point cut, which is to raise the hair up and go this direction.
Yeah.
And so when you are not cutting, you don't want to poke anyone. So you do what we call palm the shears. And that gives me more control because when they're like this, they can be open, or if I didn't have my thumb in it. So I do this. Some
Or in
stuff.
Alex's case, you took it in your armpits.
No, not in your armpit. But some stylists do this, and it's very, very interesting looking. I love to watch that, but I feel like carpal tunnel will happen sooner if I'm going to do that every time. So then you have your comb, and I'm doing this. So I'm combing and using fingers. Once I have my fingers set, I move my comb like that.
Yeah.
And then I use my shears like this, which in this.
That's next level.
Professional.
I know. And then you grab this. So this is why, like, we have a lot of wrist issues over the course of a career. I know people who've been doing it for 30 years, and I can't imagine.
Right.
It's a very physically demanding job because as
Yeah.
you can see, you're moving your back a lot. And I've heard with the masks and some of in the states that have opened up yet, that there's a lot of issues of breathing your own breath for hours at a time, and we're going to have to look into that before we
Wow, who knew?
Yeah. And a lot of medical professionals have said that too, that they've just been masked up so much where under normal circumstances they don't mask up for every patient, and that they're getting lots of levels of carbon.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
So, and it affects your muscles and your
I say this is my son Eliav who made the snide comment. So Eliav said these people must really starve for entertainment. How many people are on this Zoom call? Anybody know?
26.
Oh, you
I'm
can.
looking at 26. How many are on the Facebook though?
So, ha ha ha, my friend. All right, that's what I wanted you to say.
Okay.
Okay, so what happened? Laughing. So I'm
It's
okay.
most logical to have your son cut your hair.
What happened there? I'm worried.
I told him to do it.
Okay.
I said, make a Star Trek sideburn.
Oh, I love it. Let's see it. Oh, very nice. I love it. It looks amazing.
Mrs. Spock, well done.
Wow, Alex you got a new career in front of you, man.
Okay, so Alex, will you do me a favor? Will you drop your shears and comb and go from the back and just pull out her hair with your fingers so I can see how balanced the hair is. This is a good test before you're done. So you're looking, see now I see a little bit right here. Don't go so fast because you're gonna hide all the, okay. So go like that. And do you see there's a little length on this side that's longer than this side? And yeah. And so you can now know that you need a little more attention to that, but feel it from the other side because this should all be around even.
Cool.
And in normal circumstances, if I were cutting, some things would not be as even, but we're not going to go into those technical things of asymmetrics and stuff. Okay, so Hannah, how are you doing over there?
Well, I was trying to decide whether I want to pull up the hair this way or
Yes.
this way.
You want to pull it up this way, the
Sideway?
this way, yeah. First, just for that center cut,
Okay.
and then you're going to join. That's adorable.
I've got a squiggy going on.
Well, you said to do bangs dry, so I left them out.
So you do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so giving you a job when we're done. And so once you have that done, and you've got what we have our our guideline. For that curl, you have to leave the curl because that's like, oh yeah, you're taking a good amount off there.
By the way,
I know, is that bad? I realize that.
No, it's good. It's be bold.
I don't know if you know, this is definitely an aside, but Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley is really one of the great Jewish comic combos of all time. I don't know if people know that.
Absolutely, and you got it. So making sure that bang area is longer than the back part.
Okay.
So in a hair salon, when you drop your comb, you can't pick it up off the floor. It's against the law. So we have lots and lots of extra combs. We sanitize everything in between, and soon we'll be sanitizing our entire bodies probably between.
Okay.
All right, so now once you've got that center, you come from the back and you pick it up in little sections moving forward. So no, you're gonna go the other way. So
Really?
you're gonna hold
matching it to the length.
Yeah. So once your length is done, you're gonna pull up and you're gonna, there we go.
Like this way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that way, moving forward. Draw it up higher towards the top a little bit. Like go up high off his head more.
Okay.
There.
But should
And then can you see the shortest part? Make sure your fingers are very, very even, because I'm seeing you hold it like this. Make sure you're even through this section. So perpendicular to his head, horizontal. And then when you get to the sides, you're joining here to here. So then you'll be doing this.
Okay.
But right now you're doing this. And so and this is why we use mirrors in the salon, is because we're watching to make sure our fingers are balanced, because it's easy to do this and move your body a little bit. So a better haircut is like this. Okay.
So there's a great story in the Talmud about, a very well-known story in the Talmud about Moses wants to see what becomes of his Torah. And so God casts him well over a millennia into the future, into the back of the classroom of Rabbi Akiva, who I mentioned earlier. And so Moses is sitting in the back of Rabbi Akiva's class and had absolutely no idea what was going on and couldn't understand the interpretations Rabbi Akiva was making. And now I understand why God only cast him that far into the future and didn't make Moses stand around for Lag BaOmer to try to understand what the Jewish community was doing in the year 2020, because it would have completely blown his mind if he were here to watch us.
All right.
So Ann, I'm curious, with all of this sanitation and everything, what Alex's technique of putting the comb in his mouth and then the comb back in my hair is that?
It's killing me. It is killing me.
Started out doing that, and it felt a little gross.
I'm like,
But plus it's Greg's comb, so it has his pomade all over it. So it's got like the uppercuts and stuff.
I washed it. It's washed. It's clean.
I'm pretty sure that OSHA is not coming out to get you, or actually it's the health authority is not coming to your house.
All right, I'm gonna try to join them. And the angle at which I hold it, it's like subjective, right? I mean, it's kind of like.
Yes.
So that's
but it has to be consistent. So whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing it everywhere.
Well, that's downright impossible probably, but I'll try. Yeah, I don't know how those got that. Oh, is that your bangs?
Okay, stop for a second. When you have a question, it's time to stop to make sure. So comb like this, a little triangle forward to make sure. Let's comb all his hair forward actually. Let's see where we are.
On the sides too?
Yeah, let's just see.
I didn't do this side yet.
Okay, so we won't. You need a little bit more water, maybe? Oh yeah, you're fine. You're doing fine.
That's a good look. There we go.
You're doing fine. That looks great.
Really? Okay.
Well, you didn't cut a hole in it, so we're fine.
We went from Squiggy to Dumb and Dumber.
Right. Like we would probably take up another ½ inch on that front, but we can do that last.
Yeah.
and some of it will naturally come out. So that feels like a good angle. And as long as you're matching the bottom with the top, you're good. Because you're taking off the little bump there. Excellent.
I'm just going for it. We decided that I can just shave it if I really mess it up too badly.
Awesome.
We said the same thing, Hannah, that if something goes wrong over here, that we'll just recreate the scene from Unorthodox.
And
Exactly. She made it cool.
Wait, go, Rafi. Go get a plate, baby. Go get a plate.
Okay.
And the other thing is, and I want to say this again, this is not exactly how I would be cutting hair, where this is how the simplest, easiest way that you can cut your hair without getting into too much trouble.
You're holding back on the Kabbalistic.
I am, because there's a reason why you guys have to come see me and pay me.
Good point. Yeah, we got to wonder that.
You know, there's this, I have another story. I sat next to someone who had been doing hair for 35 years, and then we were at a class, and we take classes, you know, forever because new things and new techniques come out. And I said, you know, because I was fairly new at the time, about getting into trouble in a haircut, because hair has a mind of its own. And he says, oh, I still get into trouble. I just have experience to get out of it.
Right.
And it's true, like you can have that cowlick do something you didn't expect, but you have, you know, after 16 years, I can look at it and go like, oh, this is how I'm going to fix that.
No, that's cool.
I can't have you doing anything that's going to have you get into trouble. So I would do different cuts and things based on your hairstyle, your hair texture and stuff.
And do you know how old hair cutting is as a recognized, distinct craft or guild or trade?
I don't know exactly, but I know in our textbooks in school they talked about the Romans definitely had it all going on, and they had haircuts and braiding and coloring and things. So so I know it goes back at least that far, but I'm sure it goes further because you just have to get it out of your eyes.
Interesting.
And I have another question for you.
Yes?
Do you have a preference for what type of hair you like to cut more, like straighter or curly? Because I know curly hair can be frustrating.
You know, it's really funny because for some reason I have a good reputation with curly hair, and I think it's because I let curly hair tell me what it wants rather than forcing it into something. And it's a great time to have curly hair because for a long time it was really hard to manage, and now people have embraced it, and the little short cuts and the cute A-lines are super sweet. And so, but I know that I cut the least amount of curly hair and it pops up way more than you think. So I'm very respectful. I will cut hair 2 or 3 times in a session, each time figuring out where it's going to go so that I stop before I've gone too far.
Right.
But curly hair, I think, is the most challenging, but also the easiest in some ways. It's very forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the longer hair haircuts to be, for me, the most challenging because blonde, hair like mine shows every mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a little bit more time and effort to make it come out perfectly.
Cool. So I'm gonna unveil another level of Hod, of that receptivity quality that is Kabbalistically connected to Lag BaOmer. So another way to think about receptivity, I mentioned it before, on the human plane, in a human relationship, sometimes we can be in this mode of just receiving and accepting. So that also applies to the kind of existential realm, our relationship to God, or our relationship to the world as it is. Oftentimes we want to fight against what is, or we change it, and we find ways to change the reality we're given. And that's a beautiful human quality. Human agency and courage and audacity is definitely an honored part of the human spirit, an important part of the Jewish religious tradition. But there's also, as we all know, very profound spiritual wisdom in finding the moments of just receiving the world as it is. Sometimes it's when we understand we can't change a certain feature of it, and moving into the realm of acceptance. We still might work around the reality we're given, but it's a deep spiritual acceptance and love and respect for what is, rather than trying to be in the modality in which we're kind of fighting back against the world, fighting against God, and trying to create a different reality. Sometimes being in the mode of simply accepting and seeing the beauty in whatever is can also be very deeply healing. This is definitely the first time I've talked about Kabbalah while getting my hair cut.
And now we don't have to say, oh, I have an appointment and sneak out from work to get a haircut for the end of the day. But the one time that you're allowed to take personal grooming care.
Let me see what's going on in your hair there, Jimmy.
Do you want me to turn around?
Yes, let's see and up close if someone can give me I can't quite see. That's looking pretty good. I'm gonna
Nicely
say.
done.
Okay, do you have thinning shears there, Jemmy?
No.
Oh, good.
Okay, so do you have a blow dryer?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're going to want to do to fix this line to that line is to lighten up right here. And for those people who do have thinning shears, what I would do is, okay, time for another drawing, right? Okay. So what we've got going is this hair is long, and then we have the buzzed hair that's short, right? And this is laying down in a very heavy way. And even if we got this line just right, we would still have a lot of bulk here, which is, that line is beautiful, by the way. It looks great. But we want to just make some of this not quite so heavy. This is being, I don't know if you can do it with the kitchen shears, but what you're going to want to do is put the scissors in at this angle in the tips and just take a little, this is really high end, but Alex, I trust you to do this, okay? So you're going to bring the hair out like this, and you're just going to go tick, 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 tick. You have to do the sound
with those sound effects.
with the sound effects, right? So you're going to pull it up and just go, and only near that line. So it's going to come out. Wait, your hands are going horizontally. You want to. Okay. All right. Is that working? Does that feel good? You're not taking any length off. You're just taking. So you're just going to take off some of it. So not every hair, just in between some of the other hairs, just like if you had thinning shears.
It's pretty much what I want to see from a hair cutter.
The thinning shears, I would go like this. I would go like this, and thinning shears only cut every other hair. Well, it cuts every 5 hairs, right? That looks great.
I have thinning shears. Should I do that on Josh at some point?
Yeah, that is, his hair is finer, so you may not need it.
Okay.
But if you see a little spot of bulk,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so not everyone, because you're not taking length. You want to leave length and just take some of it. That looks good. And very close to, just close to that line where the clippers meet the rest of the hair that you've cut. And that's going to just soften that a little bit. This is high end. Anyone who doesn't need to do this doesn't need to do this.
I got to say, I'm so impressed with the skill of our hair cutters.
Me too.
But Ann, I'm also so impressed. It is so hard to do that is like serious next level hair cutting, to guide by Zoom other people to cutting. I mean, that's crazy.
I will have to say that I've had some practice. So when this started, I actually have been offering my clients this service at no charge, because everyone's going through a really difficult time, and having your bangs in your eyes is just that much worse. And so I've been doing these kind of lead haircuts, and people are doing great. And the worst one was when my daughter's clippers broke before I sent her some new ones, and she did one swipe of her boyfriend's hair, and then they broke. And so we had to go back, and I had to lead her through a completely different haircut, but it worked great. And just to have someone there going like, stop, don't do that, it's very helpful. But it's also a way that I get to connect with my clients. I haven't seen a lot of them since, February, March, so. That looks really good, Alex. Like,
Thank
really
you.
good. Like, amazing. Yeah, I have to say I miss it. I miss my people.
Give me the penis.
Mark Blattner,
Yes.
Maybe I'm totally putting you on the spotlight here, but maybe you can give us just 30 seconds on on non-haircut related things from what you're thinking about at this crazy moment for our community. And I'm making it awkward for you because you might get interrupted by Ann or somebody else. But
That's okay.
I also just wanted to take the moment to thank you and recognize you for the amazing work that Federation has been doing for the Portland community, really, really stepping up in a huge way that's affected every Jewish organization, including our own, and really with very material support. And it's just been awesome to see. But what's on your mind at this moment as one of the leaders in our community?
Sure. So Rabbi, thank you for that. And first of all, I got to say, this is great. And I'm really angry at my kids for not participating in cutting my hair. So they're going to, I know, so I'm going to be able to show them this off Facebook. So maybe I'll get my hair cut later. Couple of quick things.
I'll hook you up.
Perfect. Thank you, Ann. Very quickly, look, our community has raised over $800,000 to help support Jewish communal organizations in this town. We've seen an increase in number of people requiring emergency financial assistance for things such as rent, utilities, those kind of things. More need for mental health support in our community. And our community organizations are there to provide this, whether it's on a spiritual level, doing Zoom services to, telehealth, on the phone, talking to somebody and helping them through this crisis. To date, we've supported over 32 Jewish organizations across the state of Oregon and into Southwest Washington. But what we're trying to think about is, what comes next? And what we've all learned is that the Jewish community has been able to make a transition that not everything has to be done in person. And there are resources around the country that you can now bring to your house or into your own community at a much lower cost. So we're exploring new avenues of ways to bring Jewish life. So for example, one of our synagogues is, instead of bringing a speaker in for Shavuot, is able to do it via Zoom, and it's a much lower cost with a major name speaker in the Jewish world. So those are some new opportunities that we have. In addition, we're all waiting to see the governor's orders about reopening, whether it's for summer camps, day schools, whether it's for preschool programs, et cetera, and the impact that has on our families. And most of all, I know today the governor had a meeting to talk about when can religious institutions reopen for large crowds. And all of this is just going to take time. So we're trying to be patient while at the same time providing for the Jewish community today and into the near term and hopefully through the long term as well. So we're great. I will tell you, Jemmy's been a fantastic partner through all of this in our calls and everything, and I'm grateful to that. And Rabbi Rose, thank you for what you're doing. I do pop on services every once in a while on Facebook Live on Friday night or Saturday morning, seeing you in the cantor there. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we're able to provide to our community and to make that pivot and that switch to online so quickly. Tell you, I agree with what the rabbi said. Your tutorials online, even the drawings are fantastic. So thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Awesome. Thank you so much. Just thanks for being here. Can I check in with haircuts? Because I'm getting nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with Rabbi. So Hannah, can you go behind and just lift up his hair and we'll see where we are? Like with your fingers like this?
Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, so two hands. So one of the tricks of when we're doing it is we always use two hands because we that looks amazing.
Really?
Yeah, and add the top in there so I can see the top. Look at that.
Well, I mean,
You're a natural. Look at that. Excellent. Do you think, I think that piece is a little long in front.
I need to fix it. And I haven't done, I feel like I'm going to go back later and do all around the edges.
Right, do around the ears. We haven't talked about around the ears because it's a little harder and trickier. Remember that when you do around the ears, make sure the hair is wet if you're using scissors and pull down the ear.
Yeah.
Pull down the ear. And if you need to, have him pull down the ear for you.
Okay.
Keeping his fingers out of the way, but when you're trying to manage your fingers and the scissors, having to manage the ear as well. We used to joke that humans 2.0 would have removable ears. So.
Right.
Okay, and Jemmy, how are you guys doing? Okay, that looks
I think we're actually good. We're getting down to the point where
look at that. That looks amazing.
Yeah, so he was going to just clean up around here.
Again, hold down the ears, and then you can just clip the, what we call, this is the perimeter, so everything that's on the edge. So you're just clipping right around. Now remember on the ears, you know how when a men's buzz cut will look like there's what we call white walls, like you always see a lot of skin here? Don't do that. Like be really super conservative so that it hides right behind the ears where that line is, and it will hide any mistakes, right? You have to have a perfect line if you're going to go above the ear. So have her hold her ear, and just do little tiny snips, and don't cut anything. Like don't cut any skin. Okay, wait.
We don't want a Vincent Van Gogh.
That's a lot of hair coming out. Okay. Okay, I like your technique. I can't see how much hair you're taking off, but it looks good. Okay. And having your, okay, let's see what it looks like with the ear. Okay, put the ear up. Perfect. See, isn't that good? Excellent. And that's if you want it above the ear, and if you want it over the ear, you would do that, but use your fingers and cut it a little bit. But that's good. I think it'll still go over your ear a little bit there with some product, so you're fine. Excellent.
Sure.
Yeah. So just keep it really low to the crease of where that ear is. Not so high, not so high. Oh. Excellent. And then that looks really good. Don't you think that looks amazing?
Looks excellent. Really nice.
Great. Super professional.
And
I hope Jimmy's a good
the line in
tipper.
the back is so good. The only thing you could use is a little bit of thinning shears there, you know.
In there?
Okay. No, don't do any more. Don't do any more. I think you should stop. It looks terrific. It looks good. So this is another thing that really, as a professional, I will tell you, know when to stop. Whether it's a kid like Micah whose patience has run out and only bad things will happen. Oh, product.
Uh-oh, next level.
Next level for sure. Okay, so here's a trick about product. You put it on your fingers and you do this, and then you do the placement. Yeah, okay, that's one way.
And done.
And you're done. And then use your fingers to put it in its place. That looks terrific, Alex. Like, I'm serious sending you all the hair school and you can come work for me. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, stop. So knowing when to stop is really important because you can always take more off. You can't put it back on again. And if you're getting into a tricky situation, you can stop. If you're doing it at home, you can get it to a point that looks fine, and you can go in a couple weeks later and work on it some more. And it does get better with practice. That looks great, Jemmy. Alex, you did a great job, honestly.
Thank you.
Honestly, I had no idea these were going to come out so good. And you're ruining our whole before and after joke, but
Looking good.
that looks good too. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Trim up a little beard and you're all set. That looks
So everyone's asking who's cutting Alex's hair and cutting his beard.
right.
No one.
Yeah. Now?
He's committed to grow his beard out and his hair out until what?
Beginning of November.
Should we do the beard with the clippers later or with scissors now?
How are we doing on time?
It is 12:51.
Oh, we're doing great.
So I would do clippers on the beard, and you don't have to do them now for us, but I'll give you the trick that you want to come up from the bottom up, because you're going against the hairline. Go longer than you
Just a
think.
straight razor and stuff.
Go back and do a second run with a smaller guard. So a bigger guard, like you could try a 6, you know, and go up. And if it's still too long, you can go in with a 4, but you want to make sure that you're going against the grain as much as possible. And you oftentimes want to leave the mustache out and do that separately. And that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother ball of mustache wax.
Yeah.
I made a joke. Oh my gosh. A hair joke. That's gonna be the
I
first
want to give a round of applause to all of our haircutters, Alex and Kana.
You guys did a great
Woo,
job.
standing O.
Fantastic.
So the last thing I'll say, and then I'll give the last word to Ann and Jemmy. The last thing I'll say is just to close off my teaching about Hod. Again, the spiritual quality associated with this day is receptivity. So we talked about on the human plane, being receptive to others in a non-judgmental, just receiving way, and then kind of facing God and the world in a sense of receptivity and acceptance. That's another tool that we can draw on sometimes, not always. We also need to be builders and changers of the world, transformers of the world, but sometimes we need to know when to be in the state of receptivity. And then the other thing is to know that in a dynamic relationship with God and the world, that sometimes we're the ones who are called upon to shape the world and to act upon the world, and God, so to speak, is in a state of receptivity. And that can be a very scary thing to accept, because it means that the sort of dark side of that, the scary side of that, is it means that we can get away with all kinds of terrible things, right? I could go, across the street and break into my neighbor's house and steal something, and maybe I never get caught, and allows that to happen in the world, so to speak. Of course, other times there are consequences. But it also means, and here's where I think receptivity really becomes incredible, is if we are to do good in the world and to imagine having the courage to fulfill your dreams. You have a dream of accomplishing something or doing something in the world. And at some point in your life, you realize maybe there's nothing holding yourself back but you. Like God will receive, so to speak. God will accept anything that we put into the world. And realizing that sometimes God is the one who's imposing on us and shaping the world, but other times we are the ones shaping the world and acting in the world, and that there are sometimes no limits. And realizing that with that, it requires a lot of courage and vision to accept that awesome responsibility of having God and the world, so to speak, the ones that will receive whatever positive energy, God willing, we bring into it. So I wanted to leave you with those three dimensions of Hod, and say thank you to everybody again. Last word to Ann, and then I'll let Jemmy close us up.
The last word before I finish the hair part, I realized we didn't trim up the back of the neck, so you can go in and either with your clippers just make that line sharper and cut any neck hair underneath it. Other than that, thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been wonderful to be cutting hair remotely and being with people, and I think the lessons just made it that much better, so thank you, Rabbi. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm on Facebook, I'm connected, everyone knows how to get a hold of me, and I'll happily answer anybody's hair questions that I can. So thank you.
Ann, where is your salon? Where do you do your thing?
My salon is in Woodstock. I've been here for 14 years almost. I actually work Sundays and Mondays normally when we're open, so it's a good day. A lot of salons are closed on Sundays, and it's hard for some of us to find haircuts on those days, so when we don't go anywhere on Saturdays. So so hopefully when we get back to it, we'll have places for people to go.
And what's it called again?
It's called Odango Hair Studio, and
Right.
at Odango, everybody asks me, Odango is actually a hairstyle. It's those little balls of hair on top of the Japanese anime.
Oh, cool. Jemmy, anything you want to say before we close?
Well, the leaders have a question first, if there's time for quick questions. So Amanda, you were going to say something or ask?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. So I've always had this question. How do you know where that line is in the back of the neck exactly?
Oh, where to put it? That's personal preference and style. Usually you can tell there's a difference between, like, you don't want to go too high up close to the ear because that looks awkward. But sometimes when people have very difficult cowlicks back there, so I might leave it longer just to get past that cowlick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I might go tighter in the back of the neck with a number 1 or number 2 and fade it up just to get past that cowlick. So it's personal preference, and it's also style. 10 years ago, we were cutting really heavy lines and they curved up, and now we're making them fade in more and blending it in with the skin. It's a skill set. That is a skill set. I don't want to take you down today.
Take me there.
Maybe later. Call me later.
Okay. Oh, great. Looks like Ilana was inviting people to come on video now and ask questions and kind of socialize. But I want to say thank you so much, Anne, for taking the time. I threw this at you and you like, what, less than 2 weeks ago after we had like a brainstorming session and you were game to do this.
Yes,
Obviously you talked Alex through a fantastic haircut.
You did great.
Rabbi looks wonderful. Rabbi, thank you for being game. And I like that you found your little Talmudic workaround with the not cutting and shaving, that if people tell you you look like a deranged person, it's allowed.
Right.
I love Talmudic workarounds. Mark, thank you so much for, even though you couldn't get a haircut, coming on and your commentary. And now I'm going to let everyone know that you really in your heart are a professional wrestling broadcaster, announcer, right? You know my secret of wanting to be a stewardess. I can tell yours too.
Yes,
And
yes.
Amanda, thank you for getting Micah to not wiggle so much. And I want to know where we get donuts now.
That's right. For the
But
donut.
yeah, this is exactly what we envisioned. Just something fun, instructional, community building, and a way to tie into Lag BaOmer. So thank you everybody for taking part, and we'll have this recording on our YouTube. It's on the YouTubes. It's been streaming live on Facebook, and it sounds like a lot of people have been enjoying it.
I will say that if anyone wants to ask questions on the Facebook feed, I'll go answer them there. So we don't have to keep this up. Anyone wants to go into Facebook, find the live recording and ask your question, and I'll answer. Okay.
Beautiful. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Stylist.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.